Hello, I'm Steve. A little about myself. I'm a retired law enforcement officer with 20 years of service. I began my career in the jail, worked the road, and became an investigator. During my career, my training consisted of everything from SWAT to becoming a state certified crime scene technician. I've investigated crimes from thefts to homicides. After retiring and becoming aware of true crime and web sleuths, I started my channel for web sleuths to better understand the perspectives of law enforcement. Not only do we cover true crime, I go out into the field and assist families who have lost loved ones to homicide and their cases are considered cold. Join me as we look and bring attention to these critical cases. Hello, everyone. Glad y'all could join us tonight. It's been a busy week, and I hope y'all's weather is as nice as it has been here for the last couple of days. And I know there's been bad weather in certain parts as far as temperature and stuff, so y'all take care. But as always, if this is your first time being here to this channel, welcome. We appreciate you being here. While you're in chat, if you haven't been here to this channel before, occasionally we do coffees and clues, and then I have my morning watch shows, which are a little bit more casual than the presentations that we have during some of our more structured shows when we're focused on some of the individual cases. But as always, while you're in chat, and if you have a question about any case or law enforcement or want to discuss something during the coffee and clues, absolutely throw that question in there. Mrs. Steve will put it on the list, and we'll get to it after we have a brief introduction about some of the cases and if you have information on. But as always, we want to thank everyone for being with us tonight. Anything going on?
Nope.
Okay. All right. We'll get started here if you'll pull it up. I always try to set up some of the cases that if you have any information about any of these cold cases that I have focused on, especially, or any cold case, regardless if it's something I've covered or not, make sure law enforcement has that information. This is Lyric and Elizabeth out of Evansdale. I've have some work that we have been doing on this case and continue to do. And just a few weeks ago, I just came back from Evansdale. And so if you have any information on this, absolutely make sure that law enforcement has that critical information. Also, with Libya and Abby, if you have any information about this case that is moving forward there due to the arrest that has been made with Richard Allen, and to ensure that law enforcement has all that information, make sure that they have it. And let's see here. Also, another case that we cover quite a bit and have looked at pretty extensively. If you have any information about homicides of Madison, Kaylee, Ethan, or Zana, absolutely make sure that Idaho has that information also. Then, of course, there's a case that I'm about to go out. We did a headline story of it a couple nights ago, and I'm extremely interested in this case. And I'm looking forward to getting out there, seeing it, and trying to get a better understanding of the situation surrounding this sad incident that occurred, let's see, 8 years ago now. And so it's just absolutely terrible anytime a child comes up missing. And because there's so many, sad stories out there and tragedies of where families and or even individuals go and try to have a truly memorable moment of family time, and then some tragedy occurs. And so we have to look at these cases and see if we can bring some resolution to the families and otherwise. All righty. Let's see here. Tonight, like I said, we're going to change up a little bit. I'm going to go through chat and say hello to a few people that came in tonight. We got Jill, we got single mom. This will do nicely. Good to see you. 63 clocks. Call me Kitty. Junior Johnson, that's one of your race car drivers, ain't it? I mean, not him,
Yeah.
but yeah.
The name.
Yeah. Hello from Michigan. Good to see you.
He
That,
had miserable weather in Adrian, Michigan today.
oh my, Adrian. Huh. I have a brother up in Michigan.
Well, not anymore.
Well, I know, but
Used to.
yeah, he may still own property up there. I don't know.
Mm.
Yeah, Miranda Lee, good to see you. Solar Chef, I love that name. There's Bama, good to see you. Let's see here, and Fancy Pants. That's a new one. I hadn't
I
seen
like that
Fancy. Yeah.
name.
Good to see you, Molly. Good to see you. Um, I like this. Um, True Crime Web, your hair looks nice. I can tell you got a haircut. Very nice. Do we need to tell who my barber is?
Sure.
Mrs. Steve. Mrs. Steve's cut my hair for,
Oh,
she
long time.
for many, many, many years. Oh me. All right.
And after you see Tony, Molly's got a question.
Okay.
Keep going.
All right. We got Tony down here. There's Teresa. There's Grace. There's Kamala Nars. Good to see you. Josh DePosh is here. And Mitzi Scott, good to see you. Good evening, Steve, and Mrs. Lost is not alone. Let's see here. All right, Molly has a question here. True Conweb. Dior, what do you make of the published report from the PI where the theory is that perhaps Dior was never brought to the campground? I've looked at the report. The link was sent to me. And of course, we're talking about a report that was published the year after. So you're looking at reports 7 or 8 years old. The PI's involvement, I mean, I know nothing about that PI or how involved they were in the investigation. They may be highly involved back then and maybe continue to be. Like I said, I don't know. But if there was evidence, and from reading the report from the PI, there's some, interesting words used that myself I would not use in the same paragraph or on the same page. That when you talk about polygraph and evidence, for the fact that they shouldn't ever be confused because polygraphs are not evidence of anything. Um, you know, there's some studies out there that polygraphs may be just a little bit better than a coin flip. It depends on who you talk to. And so when you say that, and you base, and I don't know how much of what information he has in addition to the polygraphs. I just know that there's a lot of weight put behind those polygraph failures of that they were um, deceptive or emotions were involved. And that's the thing that a polygraph isn't able to determine. That yes, you could be extremely um, distraught about something and about a question, and the polygraph isn't going to be able to differ between the deception part of it, or is it just your heart's absolutely broken. And you have to be very, very careful with that. um, did I ever use polygraphs in any of my investigations? Yes, it was a tool. But it was an investigative tool of trying to persuade someone to step forward. But that's about all I ever used them for. But now I know there's a lot of people that put a lot of weight behind them. I'm not one of them. Um, but and so for the published report of the evidence, um, and I know that there was a lot of times that evidence, and that there's evidence indicating that we have where a body possibly may have been um, left or temporarily stored at. Well, we're talking about a report that was published 6, 7 years ago. I think that if there was anything substantiating and supporting that evidence, that through the technologies and the investigations, that this isn't anything that's new breaking. That report, like I said, I think the report I look at, and there may be another report, but the report I looked at that they sent me the link to was published, I think, in 2016 or 2017. And so, and and I haven't seen one since then, but there may be one out there I'm unaware of. And if there is, please send me a link to it. But the one that I was sent to, or sent, yes, the link was sent to me, and I went and looked at it. It was back there during that first year of investigation. And if law enforcement had any evidence that they could use in court, and could run and track that evidence down to a conclusion that supports this report that was released by this PI, they would do it. I mean, we're talking about a child, and law enforcement, you know, they all unify and work together when it involves a child. And from that report, you saw where there were several agencies involved in it, and of course, you have the PI of that he played a role. And how big of a role, I don't know. I just know that he is the one that published that report, and the money's involved, and that he was paid to investigate. Does he have biases and things? I don't know. People that can read in between the lines, you could see, whereas the accusations that he has are absolutely towards the family. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, that they're deceptive. They're deceptive. And the main evidence that I saw was that he wanted to proclaim as evidence, which I do not consider evidence, is the polygraphs. And now they have where there was no witnesses that they found that remember seeing the child, but just the absence of memory of not seeing someone doesn't mean that the child was absent from the scene. And so, people may not remember everything. They can be distracted. They may not have seen the child, or they may have seen 10 other children that day, and they don't know which one was Dior. And so we have to be careful. And I know there was other evidence or suggested evidence through that report about the toys found. Um, I can ask Mrs. Steve here, how many Maxbox cars do you own?
A bunch. A
And,
couple cases full.
and how long have you owned those?
Oh, decades.
Yes. Let me tell you. And
I've always liked cars.
and there's not one that if you described one of them, you're describing 10 or 15 of them, because our grandson plays with the same Matchbox toys that she played with as a child. And so, um, can there be other toys at the house? Yes. So just finding additional toys at a house that were described doesn't mean that's the only toys. Same with jackets. If anyone asked how many camouflage jackets I own, how many camouflage T-shirts I own, um, and that if I ever came up missing wearing a camouflage shirt, and then they came after Mrs. Steve because the next year they found a camouflage shirt at the house, she would be in trouble.
I would be, yeah.
Well, she'd also probably be in trouble if they ever luminol
My car,
the
my
car, the
washing
house, the
machine.
driveways. And for those of you that don't know about the tests that we run and some of the cold cases and the experiments I run, if you watch some of the other videos, you'll see where that would lead to a lot of trouble for Mrs. Steve, or explanations. Wouldn't be in trouble, but explanations. All righty. But I do believe that Dior was at the campground, dude, that the K9s alerted. And
you got a question on that?
Okay.
Can I go find it?
Sure.
I haven't. You want me to start?
Yeah, you can go ahead and
taking this? Okay, yeah, because you got some in here. All right. I'm
Okay.
gonna take
All right.
hers off. All right. 63 clocks. There you go. You'll read it out loud.
Steve mentioned K9 signaling at the campground, maybe near the reservoir. Would the dogs have signal if Dior was never there? For someone to be able to replicate a scent trail and create, can it be done? I don't know if it would ever be done to the point that you could get the tracking dogs to alert on it. So I do believe that Dior was there due to that these canines, and if I ain't understand that there were tracking dogs originally. I know from the PI's report they're talking about cadaver dogs a year or something later. Um, I have no opinion about the year and a half later, but um, the the dogs and canines that would have been brought in those early days would have been more along in, and I'm speculating because I have no evidence of it, but I would expect that if you have a missing child on day 1 through day 30, you would probably bring in tracking dogs versus cadaver dogs, um, at least for the first few days. And then after that, of course, you can start bringing in cadavers. But I would expect that they would run all routes and until they had to go to the next step before the cadavers were brought in. Or at least that's the way we do it in Georgia. They may do it different out there.
Tony D came from Chris's channel.
Yes. There's several Tonys. I don't know if you're the Tony that works with the
Tony D.
Yeah, but there's several. But I appreciate that. I'm glad you came over from Chris's channel. I like working with Chris, and Chris and I will be picking him up in Utah in just a couple of 3 weeks as I travel through to Idaho.
Okay, and 63 clocks. Mrs. Steve, what is your favorite car, Matchbox or real? You know, that's a hard one for me because I like cars.
She's got racetracks. You ever see her and the grandson together with the racetracks with the match cars doing the loopy loops, and
it is so much fun. I just love cars. So, you know, driving, it's probably a Chevy Suburban. Steve won't get me a
Steve won't get me.
he won't let me have a fast car.
No. Ride with her. If Ruckus rode with her, then you would hear screaming.
What, would he scream or would it be me screaming?
It'd be him screaming.
He would scream at my driving?
Yes.
Oh, come on.
He's upset about mine.
He's upset about yours?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he would scream. All right, let's go see. Okay. And Josh the Posh, if Dior fate involved the Stone Reservoir and it was an accident, wouldn't there have been evidence? In other words, body, clothing, etc., on the surface? Wouldn't something float to the top unless trapped?
At times, it depends a lot about water temp. And yes, I've made numerous searches and have numerous recoveries from reservoirs. But I've seen victims stay down almost 2 weeks. It depends. There's a lot of things that have a lot of variables into it. Depends on what they ate and body mass, and but it's just whatever the water temps, and as bodies decompose within that water environment, certain things come and they will pop up. And I've seen them pop up with a lot of weight attached to them that either self-applied or others had applied those weights to keep them submerged. So a human body after a certain point is extremely buoyant. But that's not always the case. Like I said, it has to do a lot with food intake and what type of foods. But you would expect that if he was in the water sometime within a few days, that unless he was entrapped or had become caught by some type of obstruction, that he would pop up to the top. But we know that that hasn't been the case as of yet.
All right. And then Anna has some information about the dogs.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. There's a confusion about the dogs. Reports say search dogs beeline from camp to reservoirs in the first day. Cadaver dogs later may have reacted to other things, including human cremations. Absolutely. And that is possible. And the search dogs, like I said, in the early days, you would bring in tracking dogs versus cadaver dogs. Later on, absolutely cadaver dogs. And I could see that as being a normal escalation of searches. But if anyone has any information that it was different than that, absolutely send me the link to that article and we will get that information out there.
All right. And Tony has on here Equus Search
Yes.
Midwest.
Okay. Yes.
All right.
I've heard Chris talk about you. So I'm glad to have you here and appreciate that. And I look forward to possibly meeting you at some time. I would enjoy that.
Okay. And M. Cunningham at Steve, can't they give truth serum to make offenders admitted where they,
I know there was actually in the Amber Crum case, a PI, Bill Deere, did administer truth serum to a person of interest. And at that time, and when I spoke to Bill Deere a few months ago, we discussed that he believed at the time he was the first private individual to have, as far as a private investigator, bringing in the medical personnel to administer and conduct such an interview. And he has that information and those interviews. Extremely interesting man to talk to and fascinating. But I don't believe that they allow through the courses of action that there's no court orders that will allow them to introduce drugs into a human to force them to tell the truth. And that I know of. I've never heard of it, and I don't believe it. Now, I think some of the our 3-letter agencies may do that in the world of international stuff, but as far as citizens that are charged with cases, I've never heard of it being forced upon anyone. It'd be nice if you could, but I've never heard of it.
All right, we got our first blue light with Thistle. Do nicely, donated a membership. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. And for those members, we have on Sundays, we have in the afternoons around 7 o'clock. We have on every Sunday. I try to get and sit down and answer all the questions for our members group, and then on Wednesdays, I have one for the commanders and for the detectives, alternating off week by week.
What you gonna do for Sunday?
I'm gonna try to get. It may be late, but we're gonna have something Sunday.
Okay. All right.
I'm gonna be on the road. I've got to go to Florida to do some consultation and consulting with on a case, and but I will try to.
It may be later than 7, though.
Yeah, it may be later than 7.
Okay. All right. And from Kamala, the second sheriff that took over after working the case for a while said the parents were not the primary suspects, but could not rule them out. Do you think they might have another suspect?
That's a really good point. For the fact that when we look at what the PI, and I'm not picking on the PI's report, but when I looked at the report, they had 3 theories. Of course, so those theories run pretty close to exactly what Chris and I are going to be doing out there about the animal and predators. Um, and then, of course, they had the theory about the abduction, and then they went straight to some type of homicide. But they did not have a theory about just a child that wandered off, that possibly, and not trying to blame the parents or blame the child, because children do what children do. They eat candy. They can get sidetracked. They can see something. They can see a baby fox, a cat, a dog, a bear, or a cub, and they think it's cute, and they're a butterfly, and they could go chasing something. You have to watch them constantly. And that was one of the theories I noted that was not in the PI's possibilities. Now, did he include it in some other section and just uh, failed to mention it in his report? Possible, I don't know. But could they have other suspects? Yes, and uh, there was other families that have tipped in that they saw suspicious persons and interactions, and I'm sure that they've had reports of children that look similar, and and they've had to look at that, because when we look at Larry Crum, there's uh, people that come up years later and say, "Hey, I'm Amber." And will that eventually happen with this case? Probably so. At some point, there will probably be a young man that will step up and, for whatever reason, and hopefully, truthfully, will be him. We just don't know yet.
Okay. And Criminal Mad thinks I need a Corvette. But wait, that's not the best part. He says they say I can drive it slowly. Yeah,
Nope.
not so much.
Slowly is not a word in her vocabulary.
It should be, but it's not. So there you go. All right. Okay, I'm trying to multitask and I'm having difficulty. All right. And let's go with this.
Mhm.
Okay. Um, let's see here. Oh, break for a blue light. Miss Kamala,
Oh,
5 memberships donated.
thank you. Appreciate that.
So we do appreciate that.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Very nice.
Welcome to the new
Oh.
members. Let's see here. And WL22, if there was clothing left behind, perhaps an animal snatched it or a bird took it for a nest.
Well,
that could be.
On clothing left behind, if it's some type of predatory attack, um, it can happen. And hair and other issues as far as the clothing and stuff do get taken into burrows for ground nest, and then birds absolutely will also use them in their tree nests. And so a lot of animals absolutely will um, do as you suggest and take parts of it, threads and things. But there's been no evidence that, some of that clothing and the boots, um, there's been a lot to be made about the boots. Where are they? Why haven't they been found? And why wouldn't they be found if there had been some type of an animal attack of and the clothing being discarded or being torn and during that attack? And that's probably one of the biggest mysteries. And Chris and I, like I said, once I get there, and we've got some experiments to run from line of sight to sound to checking out that reservoir and having a better understanding, because I'm going to look at everything from the natural threats first. Then we'll go out, because, like I said, there's no need to take the first steps like law enforcement would have taken and looked at a lot of the family in those initial dates and stages, because, like I said, we're 8 years out. The family's been looked at by law enforcement, and probably just about every level of law enforcement in the United States has looked at them. and from the behavioral science units with the FBI to whatever other resources that these professionals would have brought in to look at them. And we can also look at that the areas that were searched um, of where the cadaver dogs have alerted. That was done 8 years, 7 years ago. Um, and those areas that were turned over to law enforcement while there were at that moment in time of great interest, we can pretty well rule them out that everything that could be located, recovered, found, and used as evidence from those spots that were identified by what was mentioned in that report. Although testing has been exhausted with the sciences and whatever advance uh, from the time that they first located those areas till now. Do they still have some soils or other things that they recovered that in the future advancement in some of the DNA technologies may identify? It's possible. Like I said, who knows where science is going to go? But currently, the 7 or 8 years since they exhumed these spots that were mentioned in that report, nothing's come of it. There's been no declaration of any type of evidence supporting that Dior was in any of those locations that were exhumed.
Okay, and from Miranda at True Crime Web, did you watch the documentary Missing 411 about Dior's case and others? What did you think of it?
Um, what's a guy's name? Paul Sidis or whatever. Hey, I'll butcher people's name, but yes, I've watched several of his documentaries, and I think I did see the one that he did, or that he was a part of on the Dior's case, and it's extremely interesting. And I've watched so many different, uh, uh, you know, different types of videos. Some of the videos just by YouTube creators, some of them by some of the larger news agencies and investigative reporting. And so you have the full spectrum of people that looked at this case and have created all different type of content. And it's absolutely a mystery. And but as we see a lot of times that when these children or these adults are found, a lot of times, they're extremely close to where they were originally last seen, and and areas that have been searched multiple times. And uh, and how is that, and why is that? And that is an interesting mystery. And but and I'm hoping that at some point um, that Dior is found. Um, Tragically, it would be if he was found from his skeletal remains, but more than likely, that is where it will eventually come down to.
All right. And blue light special for Bama Sin.
Praying for a safe and successful trip. Will y'all have any local LE assisting? Um, Not currently. I haven't contacted them at this time. Now, if we get out there and we find something, of course, we'll make the contact. Or if we get out there and we need them for something else. But currently, I haven't requested or asked. Um, but doesn't mean I won't.
All right. Thank you so much, Bama Sin,
Yes,
for the
thank you.
donation.
Appreciate it.
Greatly appreciate it. That'd be a lot of coffee cups.
There will be a lot of coffee cups.
Lots of coffee. All right. And from Molly at True Crime Web, has Vernal, Jessica, or the friend been in any legal troubles over the years? Have Vernal and Jessica married others, had other kids?
I think they have separated, parted ways, and they're in new relationships. What type of relationships and what depth are they? I don't know. I don't know how many relationships they went through, but I believe I have heard and that they are no longer together. And then, of course, um, the other people, because uh, the grandfather is now deceased. And then we have the friend who was also on the camping trip. Last I heard that he was still having some issues with him being attacked because there's so many people out there that create content and they instantly jump on and go after and certain individuals if they have evidence or not, and which we have to be extremely careful for the fact that if you go after individuals that law enforcement doesn't have warrants on or being prosecuted and there's not probable cause against, that a lot of people will jump on the bandwagon and absolutely destroy people's lives, and we shouldn't do that.
Okay. All right, and that was hers. All right, let me jump in here. Let's see here. I bought. Nope, I don't have any other questions.
Okay, let me go back. Let's see,
So
let's see what we got going on here.
you cruise from the front. I'll cruise at the end, and let me see if I get up. And from Kamala, did you contact the PI's Frank Philip Klein or just rather notes?
Yes, I try to stay away from certain reports, notes, and I look at a case, try to build as much victimology as I can upon the individual, and victimology is far more of a understanding of when you get a full victimology of an adult. But we're looking at a 2.5-year-old child at the time that they went missing. And so there's not a lot of victimology about this child and under the circumstances that he went missing. And so the looking at when people have certain biases and have come to certain conclusions, at some point, as I look at it and whatever information I can gather, and I hopefully at some point get to talk to the families, that if I get the same information and the same vibes, then of course I might be on their side. But I don't want to get that. If you just read and the only information and the only report you read was this one report from the PI that was released in 2016, 2017, that if you looked at it, then of course, and if you took it for having certain and giving it great weight, you're not going to look for anything else other than, yes, the parents' involvement. And I'm not that way right now. I haven't got past that. The child may have simply just walked away and got lost and bad things happened. And I want to look at it first from that standpoint. And then if hopefully I can make contact with the family, and if they choose to speak with me, I would absolutely embrace it and try to help them in every shape, form, or fashion to find Dior and clear their names. Or if it goes the other way, same. My only fight and the only thing I really care about is bringing comfort to the family as much as possible in the recovery of Dior. That's the only dog I have in this fight.
All right. And Miss Teresa.
Thank you. $4.99. Appreciate that.
We appreciate that. All right. Let's see here. We've had some more pop in here. Let's see here. 63 clocks. Forming your own opinion after investigating sounds like a good idea. You're a smart man, Mr. Steve. I think he is too. 63 clocks. Thank you.
Thank you. That's very kind of you to say.
All right. And let's see here. CJK, I agree with this too. If this were an accident, I don't understand a cover up by the parents. You tell the truth. The child deserves that. How anyone can live knowing they covered up in any way, I don't understand.
And that's what I say. We don't have
Me
any
neither.
information right now that there was a cover up. If you just look at what these PIs have put out there, or gut feelings, or polygraphs, and like I said, I don't have any evidence right now that says there's a cover up. Um, and
We hope it's not a cover.
oh, well, yes, absolutely. I mean, you
Hmm.
know, uh,
Crazy. All right. And from Miranda at True Crime Web, anything on Evansdale?
no, not currently. I'm gonna try to talk to Drew this week or next. I've called him because I'm gonna be up in Indiana, but I'll see if I can't get in touch with him, see if he's heard anything. If he has, I'll let you know.
Okay. She bugs you about Evansdale like I bugged you about
Mm-hmm.
Evansdale. All right, let's see here. Molly, and I think the info. No questions right yet.
Okay.
Nope.
All righty, guys. Well, we absolutely.
Hmm. What's that? You see it?
No, just checking through some of the. I'm not about halfway through some of the comments,
Oh, okay.
but anyway, if y'all have any additional questions, we'll give you a couple more minutes to get anything in there. And if not, we want to thank all y'all's support and for everyone being here. If you like the video, sub, share, um, and send us, give us a thumbs up. We appreciate it. And we appreciate all this. And like I said, we've got I have a busy September. I've had a busy summer. I put a lot of miles and going a lot of miles this summer. And then September, um, that'd be our September, October. I'll finish up with everything I have to do in the Midwest. And then, of course, later on, I've got to get with um, Larry Crum and about Amber. And I think in about 2 weeks
Yes.
that the 3 month mark will be here, and I'll be contacting the lab if the lab doesn't get back in touch with me first and see on that bone if they were able to do anything with the identification of species and or DNA.
All right. Perfect.
Call Me Kitty has a question there.
There it is.
Says reference the grandfather's store chain. I think it's a memory problem due to thoughts. Yes, and not just with grandpa, but those first moments and those first days and first, that people uh, in high emotional states, they can misspeak and misthink, and certain things may, you know, uh, become cloudy. And so, have I seen it time and time again that just what someone told me, and then you overanalyze and you analyze, and then you uh, double check and you look at, and stories change. Sometimes it can be just something innocent, and sometimes it can be something sinister, and it's hard to judge. And law enforcement has more information than we ever have, and so if law enforcement's not on that bandwagon, then we most certainly shouldn't jump on that bandwagon. And but yes, um, anyone knows that when you're talking to the elderly at a certain point, uh, memories do become intertwined. That they may say certain people were there when certain people have been deceased for years, or they may bring up false memories of certain things that occurred last week and has nothing to do, and it was years ago. So yeah, there's a lot of things about when you're dealing with some of the elderly that can absolutely make you wonder.
And Miranda wants to know if we're any close to moving. A few more boxes, I guess, closer.
Oh yes, yes, yeah. She has just about. If anybody buys stock in bubble wrap right now, you're going to do well. Mrs. Steve is making the prices go up on bubble wrap.
All right. And whoop, wrong one. And Gail at Steve, I missed something. What bone, if I may ask?
The bone is the one that we recovered when we were doing the search for Amber Crum in Texas, referenced her 1982 case, 83 case.
83.
And when she was 2 years old, we recovered one from a crawl space, a rib bone. We don't know if it's human or not, but we sent it to a lab for analysis, and the report should be here in the next couple of weeks, hopefully.
Yes. Yes. All right. No more right now.
All righty, guys. Like I said, we want to thank everyone for being here tonight, and got a lot of work to do. I've got so much going on right now, getting prepped. Like I said, I'm going to be leaving on the road this week, and I'll try to get as many shows while I'm on the road as possible. And actually, Mrs. Steve's going to meet up with me in Florida next week, and so I'll have someone to assist me.
Yeah. Oh, I was getting promoted next week.
Yeah, she wants to be promoted. But anyway, we thank y'all, and y'all stay safe out there, and we'll see y'all soon.
Love y'all. Thank you, mods.